Hi there guys and girls, it's been a while. I know I don't make videos as often as I used to. It's kind of hard. I mean, I know I just had a big long weekend. I was hoping to get a video made during that weekend, but I pretty much did everything else but that. But I'm doing a video now. But some of you might be disappointed, it's not a Mortal Kombat video. And these are videos I generally don't do. Like, part of me wants to do them sometimes. And they're the kind of the movie hype videos, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Ghostbusters trailer comes out and everyone cracks the shits, you know, or Batman vs Superman comes out and everyone cracks the shits. So, I was very tempted to do something about Ghostbusters, because Ghostbusters is one of my all-time favourite movies, you know, but everyone was doing it, and it just comes off like so phony when then you do it when your channel isn't really, you don't really do, it's not really a movie review channel, it's a Mortal Kombat channel. And then if I do a Ghostbusters video, I look like this sellout then who just, I'm jumping on the bandwagon, you know. I am a Ghostbusters fan, I really am, but you know, that's why I didn't do a Ghostbusters video. But I'm making an exception with this one, and this video is about Batman vs Superman. Now the reason I'm doing this video is because I saw the film and I really thought I wasn't going to like it. Oh, and by the way, spoilers. I'm not doing a spoiler-free version. I'm not doing, you know, two separate videos. This is just one video, and it's got spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop watching and then come back when you've seen it. So, I thought I would hate this movie because I hated Man of Steel. Man of Steel wasn't a good movie. It was not a good Superman movie, I'll say that. And I thought I would really hate this movie, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm not saying it's a perfect movie, it still has big problems. So I wanted to do a video because everyone is hating on this film all over the internet, saying it's oh shit, and it just feels like maybe half of it, or let's say at least half of it, is phony, and that people are just hating on it for the sake of the fact that everyone else is hating on it, you know. And remember, I hated the first Man of Steel. I hated that first Zack Snyder one, but I actually liked this one for a few different reasons, and I'm going to get to those. Where should I start? You know, I'm not used to doing movie reviews. I talk films with my friends all the time, but it's all unscripted, and we just talk about things. But I've never done it in video format, and I don't, as you guys know, I don't go off a script. So, you know, I guess I should just start from the trailers and that. You know, since this has been announced, a lot of people haven't thought this is going to be a good movie, you know, and I myself have watched a few reviews. I especially wanted to hear what Angry Joe had to say, because Angry Joe did a great review about Man of Steel with Doug Walker. It was like a 50-50 one. I really enjoyed that review. It was great. They both brought up very good points, but for me, Man of Steel just wasn't a good movie. The problems I had with Man of Steel were the facts that Superman doesn't save people in it. He only saves his friends. And my friend brought up an interesting thing today. I told him that today, my co-worker. He said, but he saved people at the start of the movie. And I said, that doesn't count because he wasn't Superman then. He was, you know, he was a drifter or whatever. So all that stuff for me in the Man of Steel film doesn't really count, because when Superman becomes Superman, and he saves the common man, that's kind of what's cool about Superman. He saves the everyday person, and they always talk about it, hope, and that the S means hope, and it means the common person who, you know, who gets mugged in the alley. Maybe Superman will show up and save him. Or if a boat suddenly starting to sink, maybe Superman will show up and save the day and save everyone on the ship. And that's part of the core of being a common person in the Superman world, that there is this being out there that can do these things, that can save people, you know. And in the first Man of Steel, I didn't get any of that. All I got was him saving his friends non-stop. He saved Lois Lane, he saved Perry Wright, you know, he's saving all these people, but he wasn't saving the everyday person, the person he didn't know, you know. And that's been in pretty much, you know, Smallville, Lois and Clark, the old Superman films. It's been in all, it's like a core component of the Superman character. So that wasn't in Man of Steel at all, as far as I'm concerned. Or even if it was and I'm not remembering it right, I've only seen it once and I really don't want to see it again. But I don't remember him saving people, and that's one of the big problems I had with the movie. The second problem was that there was so much destruction. It looked like 9/11. A lot of people say, oh, that's cool action and that, but it wasn't cool action. It was buildings falling over like that and dust going everywhere, and just the action was, although it visually looked impressive, as a visual effects person would say, it looked good, but the action wasn't cool. Like, I love action movies. I love things like Die Hard, Predator, Commando, some of the old school ones. I even like the new one, Olympus Has Fallen. That was good. I'm hopefully seeing London Has Fallen this week sometime. Those are kind of good, cheesy action films of the current time. But the action in this, it was just like, let's destroy a building. Let's have a building fall over. Let's have another building fall over. Let's have a building fall over. Let's have him go through that building. Let's have him go through the IHOP. Let's have him go through that. Let's have him go through that, because he's Superman and he can't get hurt. And it felt monotonous and boring. It didn't feel like the action was clever at all. So that's another problem I had with Man of Steel. The other thing was, in regards to that too, is like, he fights Zod. He fights him on Earth and trashes everything. And a lot of people are like, why didn't he just take Zod up into space and fight him? Which was a good point. You didn't really see Superman as Clark Kent much in the first movie, and all the characters like Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White felt just thrown in there in that first movie. They didn't get enough screen time in that. So these are the problems I had with Man of Steel. Now in this movie, almost every problem I had with Man of Steel was corrected. And I could see it. As I'm watching Batman vs. Superman, I'm starting to see that all the things I didn't like about Man of Steel were fixed in this movie. Now, I'm going to start with Ben Affleck as Batman. I never had a problem with Ben Affleck being Batman. Ben Affleck is an awesome actor. If you guys want to see Ben Affleck at in one of his best films, I'd say check out Argo. That's a great movie. Even when Ben Affleck does schlock like Mallrats, I love Mallrats. He was funny in Mallrats. He's done a lot of other things that I thought he was awesome in. I think Ben Affleck has always been a good actor, and in this, he fucking killed it. And regardless of all the people out there hating on this film, everyone said the same thing, that Ben Affleck was an awesome Batman. And not only was he an awesome Batman in acting and being Bruce Wayne, I seriously felt like, this is how good Ben Affleck is as an actor. When I saw him being Bruce Wayne, and he's talking about, they're criminals, they deserve it, and all this stuff, he was that convincing that I felt, what, he really is fucked up, it felt really convincing, like, the justice, he was branding people with the Bat logo. I thought that was awesome, banding these criminals, branding them, they're criminals, they're always going to be criminals, I thought that was really cool, and Ben Affleck and Bruce Wayne was very disturbed. Now, when he becomes Batman, he puts on that suit. That suit was fucking scary as that big robot suit with the glowing eyes. At first, and I was making fun of it all the time. You can ask my friends. I'm like, the RoboCop suit, with the glowing eyes. But in the movie, it actually felt, because they didn't have it all the time. I think this really worked well. The fact that they did, when you first saw him, he had the normal suit when he was up in the corner and he kind of jumped down. That looked fucking scary as, by the way. And the cop was like, whoa, fuck, with the shotgun, almost shot his partner. And then they talked about the suit not being ready, and they're working on the suit. I thought that was cool. I didn't just have him in the suit all the time, the big robot suit. They kind of saved it for the end, And, so the whole start of the movie, Ben Affleck as Batman, seeing what happened with Superman fighting Zod and hating Superman, and that, it was all done really well. And then you had you know, all the Superman stuff, Superman with Lois and this and that, and this whole hearing, you know, the whole political thing, is this guy going to kill us all, you know, that was awesome too. And we had Holly Hunter as sort of the leader of the Congress or whatever. She's a great actor. I've always liked her. And all that was done really well. And on top of all this too, one of the main problems that I mentioned in Man of Steel was we got enough screen time. We got to see Henry Cavill as Clark Kent. We got to see him as Clark Kent a lot more. We got to see Perry White a lot more. You know, he was even sort of talking back to Perry White, I want to do this story. No, don't do that story. You did that story, didn't you? All that stuff was really good. You know, we got enough of it that it started to feel like a real Superman movie. So that stuff was good. Then we had Lex Luthor. Now, Jesse Eisenberg is a great actor. He really is good. And like, that Social Network is a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorites that he's done. When I first saw these trailers and he was being the same character in this movie, I didn't think it was going to work. You know, he's not really playing Lex Luthor. He's playing Lex Luthor's son, Alexander Luthor. But the main problem I had with Jesse Eisenberg is the fact that he looked like a college kid with throwing a jacket on. And, you know, even though he was playing like Social Network sort of character in this, like, it felt like a lot like it. The mannerisms. It's all about the mannerisms. As the movie went on, I'm like, yeah, this is actually working. The character was working. He was kind of insane, you know. And some people have even said in other reviews that he was kind of like the Joker. I should mention, Red Letter Media did a review of Batman vs Superman. I'm a big fan of them. They pretty much didn't like it, but I'd say check out their review. They make some very good points. But this is my review and how I felt about the film. So, Jesse Eisenberg, yeah, the look for me looked like a college kid, but, you know, wasn't. But my friend made a really good point, and like, a lot of pioneers and leaders of technology and innovation these days are people who, like Steve Jobs, who always come out wearing jeans and casual t-shirts, and, you know, they're not suits and ties. They're more, you know, college people like that, you know. So that was an interesting point my friend made. I guess you could pass it, but it did bug me. You know, you kept seeing his shoes. I kept showing his shoes, like when he was going in water and stuff, and he was wearing Converse or he's wearing sneakers. I'm like, just, for me, it just was a bit much. I would have changed the look of the character, but the way he played him was good. You know, even though it was like Social Network, it worked for the film. It worked for me. So we had that. We had the fact that, you know, now we have Superman being Clark Kent. That's fixed. One of the things we were talking about, he doesn't save people. Now, in this film, you do see him save people. He saves the people in the flood. They got the big S on the house. He saves the girl that you hear about on the news in Mexico or something, and all the people are like grabbing him like he's a god. He saved a few other people. It did kind of feel a bit inserted, but I think having it in there worked. Like, if they didn't have that insert, it would just feel like Man of Steel. Even though it is kind of in there schlocky, kind of quick, you know, and not sewn in well, it was enough to go, okay, Superman saving people now. So we got Superman saving people, we got Clark Kent in the film. One of the other things I didn't like about Man of Steel was the fact of the fight. You know, they destroy everything, and that in this, you know, that whole argument, why didn't he take him up into space? When we get Doomsday come out, he does take him into space. And this made an awesome scene, because they took him up into space and the president says nuke him, and they nuke Superman and Doomsday while they're up in space, and you see Superman like decomposing. I thought that was a great shot, but the only thing that kind of ruined it, like it was awesome, was when they come crashing down to Earth, you know, and they're like, oh, lucky no one's around or something. They made some real quote like that, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a joke, because, you know, in the first movie everyone was saying, you know, there was so much destruction and You know, and instead of saying no one got hurt, that felt a bit schlocky, but the scene itself was good. So that was another thing. He did take this. Now he's taken the fight away from Earth and respecting Earth and not letting everything get trashed. But then they nuked him in space and then he crashed to Earth. So that's another thing about Man of Steel I didn't like that was fixed. So you guys starting to see the pattern. The things I didn't like about Man of Steel in this film were fixed. But that doesn't mean that this film was perfect. This film had a lot of problems. So my biggest problem with Batman vs Superman now was the dream sequence that Batman has where he's in the desert and he's captured and Superman comes in and pulls the hood off and sees his face, and then there's a big fight and he's trying to get this kryptonite. It was so fucking strange. And the funny thing was, when I saw that in the trailer, I thought that was a cool scene. I'm like, fuck, he pulls his mask off. What a bastard. What a bastard. He pulls his mask off and gives him a dirty look like, fuck you, man. You know, but it turns out all to be a dream. And then Batman has a gun and he's shooting everyone. Like, he's killing everyone. He's doing all this great fighting. Don't get me wrong. But I'm like, Batman would not touch a gun. No way. No fucking chance. And in the rest of this movie, he doesn't. He has, you know, gas gun launchers, grappling hooks. He has all the Batman things. But he wouldn't touch a machine gun. But in this dream sequence, he had a machine gun and he's shooting everyone. And I really hated that dream sequence. So there's all that weird shooting and all that. And then there's this whole thing with this guy coming out of the computer screen, talking to him, saying, "Rrr." I'm like, who the fuck is that? It was so, I hated that fucking scene. I really did. And Red Letter Media, out of everything they said, there was one thing they said which was dead on. And they talked about that scene. And they said, why did they have this scene to have a dream and have all this action about it? And then later, Batman actually steals the kryptonite. There's no scene. They just show a Batarang left where it was. They could have not had that confusing fucking dream sequence, which it really was, and instead had an actual sequence where he steals the kryptonite. Instead, it was just, look, I got kryptonite. You know? So that was that, you know. Now, what will I talk about next? Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I'm going to be the politically incorrect guy, and I'm going to say it because I guess I'm just a big mouth nerd. I guess that's why. So for me, she wasn't Wonder Woman, and it's not her performance. It's not any of that. It's just the fact that she doesn't physically look like Wonder Woman. You know, when you watch Justice League or you watch, you know, any of the classic Wonder Woman stuff, the old school stuff, even you play the Mortal Kombat versus DC game, you know, you can see in the source material that Wonder Woman's quite a tall woman. She's Amazonian. She's half god, I believe. She's a warrior race. You know, she's a big woman. You know, she's very busty. I wasn't getting this from Gal Gadot. And this, you know, it shouldn't always be about looks. You know, it has to have both. It has to have looks and acting for me to have someone in the film. But she just felt too small of a woman to be Wonder Woman. Like I said, Wonder Woman should be very solid, very warrior race-like, tall, busty, you know. I say busty because that's how she's looked, that's how she's been portrayed and everything. And, you know, I'm sure there's someone out there going, but, you know, this is a different thing. I don't care. When the characters are this far established, it's like if you change Superman, you change the yes, or you put Superman's always a big guy, but you put Superman as a skinny guy, it wouldn't work. People would be pissed off. And for me, this is the same with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman has to be the same as she was. She has to have the same sort of look. It has to transfer through the whole medium. So, on top of that, the worst thing about Wonder Woman was the music. The movie just took on its own soundtrack. Like, you know, I had this fucking strange music that came on whenever Wonder Woman came on, and I was like, what the hell is this? You know, that was actually really getting on my nerves. I don't know, it was just really getting on my senses. I really didn't like it, because the whole rest of the movie had a pretty decent soundtrack. And then suddenly it just started doing that, and I'm like, ah. And that was getting on my nerves. The fact, I think she was worked in enough to be in there. I kept saying to my friend, she's such a third wheel, thrown in character and that, you know, but they established enough early on in the film to just pass it, to keep her in there, even though she is thrown in. At least I had a little bit of backstory in that. So that's how I feel about Wonder Woman. Next I'm going to talk about the setups for the next film. So they set up, you know, there's a part where Bruce Wayne hacks Lex's computer and he sends it to Wonder Woman and says, I found these metahumans, you know, and you see the logos, you see the WW, you see the lightning bolt, you see the A, and the last one had some sort of, I don't know, C with a dot in it or something, I don't know. So these logos are all setups for characters. So WW is obviously Wonder Woman. They're making that movie with Gal Gadot already. Then the C dot was Cyborg, the lightning bolt's the Flash, and the A is Aquaman. So these are, you know, they showed the footage of them. I thought they looked alright. You know, we all know, like, we all say the same thing. It's so obvious they're setting up the Justice League movie. Well, no fucking shit, you know. Marvel's out there with their stuff, you know, they've done really well, and they've been building it up, and they've built it up well, and everyone says the same thing. Marvel built it up real well, real slow, duh. You know, DC want to get in on that, you know, obviously they don't have the time, so they kind of have to cut corners. Now, you might say that that's shit, but, you know, it's the way they do it. And for me, like, I thought the Flash was pretty good, that way they showed the Flash. The Aquaman thing was a bit hammy. He kind of comes out of the water and looks at the guy. I like the kind of way he shot off at the end, though. I thought it was kind of cool. You know, I think it's cool that they're taking a chance doing an Aquaman movie, because, you know, everyone makes jokes about Aquaman, and, you know, the Mortal Kombat guys were the first to take a risk and put Aquaman in the game, and they made him cool, you know, in Injustice. So I think it's kind of cool that they're doing that, and they're going to take a risk. So I think that's alright. Like I said, Flash looked good. I didn't know who Cyborg was at first. Like, I saw that. The thing that confused me about Cyborg was that weird cube that was like morphing and shit. And I didn't know it was Cyborg till I got home and looked it up. I'm like, who the fuck was the last guy? So the last guy was Cyborg. I'm like, okay. You know, so yeah, they had little videos that you saw in the film, and I thought it was kind of cool that we got to see those and see where they're going. So these are going to be the next movies. Wonder Woman's due out 2017, Justice League Part 1's due out 2017, and Justice League Part 2's due out 2019. So these are already slated on IMDb. And those are the setups, you know. So that's how I feel about them. So in wrapping up this video, well, trying to wrap it up, I guess, you know, the Batman Superman movie was good. Batman was super dark, super fucking scary, super tormented. I think Superman, Henry Cavill actually really did bring more to the character this time. He played it the same, but he had a bit more emotions because you saw more of him as Clark Kent. So you got to see more of the other side of him. You got to see him, you know, like when I almost felt sorry for him when Batman was beating the fuck out of him and he wanted to save his mum, you know, and they made jokes about it in the Red Letter Media video, you know, because it's his mommy, you know, and all that. It's kind of funny. But I actually kind of felt sorry for him. You know, Batman's beating the fuck out of this guy. He just wants to save his Earth mum, you know. So that worked. You know, and I will address the mummies thing, because a lot of people are like, oh, you know, just because he has the same name, you know, because Batman's mother's name was Martha and she was killed, and Superman's mother's name's Martha, and he says Martha, and Batman's like, why'd you do that? No! You know, and he goes crazy. It kind of comes off a little bit corny, but I have a theory on that. It's not just that they had the same name, and that's why it's like, I'll save her because she has the same name. I think it's because Batman was starting to realize that Superman wasn't this crazy alien that was just sent here from another planet that could kill everybody. I think he realized in that moment that Superman grew up on this planet. and that he had an Earth mother, you know, and I think he related. He had an Earth mother too, you know, and I think it was about that. I don't think it was about the fact that they just had the same name. I think it was more that Batman saw that he actually grew up here on Earth and had an Earth parent, and maybe he isn't such a bad guy. Maybe he is misunderstood, you know, so that's how I felt about that. I'm going to talk about the final fight a bit too. You know, I thought they built it up very well between Batman and Superman, you know, threatening each other. You know, next time there's a light in the sky, you know, don't come, the bat is dead, you know, do you bleed? You will. You know, they were really kind of at each other's throats, and I thought it was kind of cool. All that stuff was done really well. When the final fight does come, they kind of team up to take down Doomsday and that. You know, it was alright, you know. You got Batman shooting Doomsday with like the gas gun, the kryptonite gas gun, and Wonder Woman holding down with the rope, and then Superman had to bring in this kryptonite spear and sort of stab him, and that's how they kind of wanted to take him down. You know, there was a bit of destruction in this, like when they were fighting, but it wasn't too much like last time, and it was a bit different. You know, it wasn't as grey, it wasn't as washed out, there wasn't, you know, dust everywhere. It didn't look like 9/11. You know, there was like fire and stuff, and I think it was done just enough that I could watch it and not be annoyed. And when I was watching Man of Steel, I'm like, this is like terrible and annoying, and I think that's why this gets a pass. You know, and I thought Doomsday was alright. If the trailer hadn't ruined it, you know, that trailer that ruined it for everyone, I thought that would have been a really nice surprise in the film. But yeah, that trailer was bad news. You know. So I thought that was alright, and that, you know. So is there anything else I want to talk about? So I will talk a little bit about the ending. The ending. Superman dies. Right. Actually, no. Before I talk about the ending, I want to talk about something else that a lot of people are confused about. The kryptonite spear I mentioned. Batman was going to use it to kill Superman, but it didn't end up using it because of the whole, you know, mother's thing. Right, so then Wonder Woman grabs it and puts it in a hole, and everyone's like, why'd she do that? Because then she goes back for it. I'm like, well, it's obvious why she did it. She knew this thing could kill Superman, so she wanted to get rid of it. But then I think Batman says to her, we need that spear or something, but Batman didn't know that she dropped it, so she went back to get it. That's what happened. I think that's what happened. I've only seen it one time at the movie, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the whole spear thing. You know, that's why that happened. So now the end of the movie, I really, really liked the end of this movie. Oh, actually, again, I'm going to talk about another scene before I talk about the end of the movie. Something that was really well done, I thought, was the way that Lex exploited that guy in the wheelchair to blow up the Senate. I thought that was awesome. And they blew up the Senate, and then they caused all this doubt because they kept talking about Superman. Is he for or is he against it? He shows up, and then suddenly this place blows up, and then everyone's like, did he do it? And he doesn't answer, and that's kind of cool. And then, you know, he didn't answer the people, and then as soon as they found out Superman was dead, they were all sad for him suddenly. It's a total human thing. They're all like, oh, we really feel sorry for him now. He saved us. What a hero. But, like, you know, a few hours earlier, they were all like, you know, down with the alien, you know, we can't trust him, you know. I thought that was cool. I thought that was well done, you know. And when he actually died, having the footage of the two funerals at the same time, I thought that was really cool. I actually really enjoyed that. You know, you got to see the big ceremony in the city, the big gunshots, they're letting off all of the American flag, the big S on the coffin. When they had the real funeral in Kansas, just a normal coffin, normal guy, just buried him out, you know, with a few friends, a few Clark Kent friends, and, you know, Bruce Wayne was there, said I failed him, and da-da-da-da. I thought that was really well done, you know, and, you know, they bury him, and then Lois throws the dirt on. You see the dirt move on the coffin, enough to know that Superman isn't actually dead, he's alive, you know, and of course they're not going to kill off Superman, duh. For anyone going, oh, what a cop-out. Of course, they're not going to do that. No way. They're going to do the Justice League movie. You know? But, you know, having that, and it depends how they do it now. When he does come back to life, however he does, they got to do it right. Is he going to be changed, man? I think he he should be a bit changed after being killed in that, you know. His attitude's got to be a bit different. He's got to become the Superman we know, you know. So yeah, that's how I felt about the movie. I wanted to do this video because I thought it was decent. I didn't think it was fantastic. Like I said, I had a lot of problems and a lot of... the movie definitely needed to be shorter. I should say that. It needed to be tightened up. They needed to get rid of that dream sequence. I don't know what the fuck that was about. That really confused the shit out of me. The one scene that I thought was going to be good in the movie, and in the movie was absolute rubbish. You know, but the rest was pretty good. You know, like I said, that the Batman stuff was awesome. The Bruce Wayne stuff was awesome. The Superman on trial stuff was awesome. All that stuff was awesome. Then you had that bit of action at the end. Lex was okay. One thing I really liked about Lex 2, the fact that he throws Lois Lane off a building. That's classic Superman. You know, then Superman comes and saves her. You know, that's the Superman we know, and the movie needed things like that in it. And it had enough of them, for me, to hit those beats to be a good film. You know, so I'm going to go out there and put my reputation on the line and say that this was a decent movie. A decent Batman vs. Superman movie. I'm not going to say it was really good. You know, I'm not going to say it was terrible like Man of Steel. I'd probably give Man of Steel 3 out of 10. You know, like, I really, really didn't like that movie. You know, I'd probably give this 6.5 out of 10, 7 maybe. You know, like I said, it was a lot better. Not a perfect film. Needs to be tightened up. You know, but it could have been a really good movie. Now, what I really am excited for coming out of this film is if they give Ben Affleck, and I believe they are giving him his own Batman movie. Oh, that is going to be so good. Because Ben Affleck was a fucking psycho in this movie. And I like that. I actually said to my friend in the movie, when Ben Affleck didn't kill Superman, and they said that they had the same, you know, mother names. I'm like, oh shit. I said to my friend, I almost feel sorry for the bad guys in the next scene. Because I knew it was going to be Batman going in there and just pummeling all of them to get Martha back. And that's exactly what it was. He comes in the robot suit, he's throwing him around the room, and fucking crazy. He was a badass. Really liked it. I really would be interested to see how this R-rated version is going to be that comes out on Blu-ray. You know, apparently this was heavily cut, so I'm really interested to see that and see how different it is and how much they cut out and how much it affects the theatrical version of the movie. You know, because like I said, this was a passable film. You know, a lot more passable than Man of Steel. A lot more. You know, so that's how I feel about Man of Steel. One other thing I will say, there is not a goddamn thing after the credits. So every movie I watch, we generally talk about the movie and wait out the credits anyway. But for those of you who care, in this movie there was nothing after the credits. Not a goddamn thing. I think there was a logo. It's like nothing to do with the movie, the production film logo, which I thought was very strange. You know, I would have saved the moving dirt scene, the very, very end where the dirt moved. I would have saved that for after the credits. But I guess they have to show it. You know. So yeah, that's my feelings on Batman vs Superman. Thanks for watching. Put in the comments what you guys thought of the film. I know a lot of you hated it. I know some of you liked it. You know, some of you probably thought it was okay. You know, I won't get offended. You say what you want. You disagree with me in the comments. I don't care. You know, this is just how I feel about the movie. I think it was decent. Yeah, like I said, decent, not perfect. The movie needed to be tightened up. You know, it could have been a really good movie. It could never have been as good as The Dark Knight. That's a masterpiece. But you know, it would have been a lot more solid of a film if they'd pulled a few strings and tightened a few things up, like getting rid of that dream sequence. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys for the next YouTube video. Peace out.